panels, when we are talking about police brutality, then we all agree that it is all bad, and we admit that it happens in our society, and its target is people who come from minority background. Like, they are being a victim of rape, they are being victim of harassment, they are being a victim of racism, and even some of them are being killed by the police because of their brutality. And we all agree that when we are talking about defunding the police, then it means that we want to cut off and reduce the number of police officers, and we will only let them to take like the huge and big violent case and criminal case. But what we want to talk to you in our side of the house is that how the proposal coming from the government side of the house are actually not effective at all, and it is problematic. And our stance here is that we believe that defunding the police will be the best way for us if we want to create a better society where police can do their job greatly. And before I move into more arguments, here are the few rebuttals toward the government side of the house. That first, they told to you like it is unfair to punish the good officer. But here I want to tell you that our side of the house, we will have our mechanism too, where we will decide and value which police officers can work and which police officers cannot work. So there's not exact reason for you to say that it is unfair if the good police officers will be punished too. Because in fact, if they are good, then what is the reason for us to reject them from getting work, right? And my second rebuttal is that they told us that no police on the street means it will raise the number of racism. But here I want to tell you, in the current situation, in our daily life, even if we have police officers on the street, the number of racism itself is still high. So it simply shows you how it is irrelevant, because racism still happen anywhere, right? And the third rebuttal is that they told us, what about the areas with high criminal rate? But here I want to tell you, even in this state where there is a high number of criminal, the police officers there are actually overpopulated too, right? So they don't have like an exact work what they want to do. So therefore, we will try our best to defund them and to defund them as proportionate as possible. And moving on into more arguments, that first I will to tell you how the current situation is actually going. The current I told you how the proposal coming from the government side of the house won't be effective, and why reforming institution won't be effective. Because we tried reforming this institution since a very long time ago. For example, in Indonesia, people who come from a variety of background, they can be a police officer. So we don't limit people to be police, only people who come from a certain background, right? But what is happening in Indonesia right now, in fact, what happened in Papua, in West Papua, protesters and civilians are being killed by the police. They are a victim of police brutality, and it simply shows you how reforming the institutions won't easily work. It doesn't work, in fact, because the other example is that the reason why we have a lot of cases like a rapist case and sexual harassment case, and most of them are unreported. It's because the institution themselves are sexist. Why? Because when a woman want to report the harassment they got or the rape they actually got, and what will the institution react? They will say like, oh, it is your fault because you wear like too short pants, and that is irrelevant at all, right? It simply shows you how it would be much better if we defund them, if we as proportionate as possible, that only police officers, as what I told you before, we will decide that only police officers who have like a good mind, a more open-minded mind to work. And my second argument is that why we want to defund them, it's because if we shorten or slimmer the institution, that we cut off the number of police officers, we can choose which police officers can totally work and which police officers cannot. And therefore, it will be more effective, like what we call its quality and not quantity. And defunding the police itself is one of the way for us to reach the reformation of the institution. Why? Because they will feel guilty and they will know that they have to work greatly, because now their job is being limited. They feel like, oh, my job is being limited now, and therefore I have to work greatly. And another case, another example, what we see here in our life, that police have a huge control, they have a lot of control, but what actually they can do to the society, it's actually not big things. In fact, they do a lot of police brutality, right? So therefore, if we make them realize that they should work even harder, like we give them like a huge or big case of violent or criminal case, it means that they will work greatly, and we can see what they contribute to the society. And my third argument is that why independent court won't work. Because as said by the government side of the house, that they told us that they want they want to reform the institution, and they want to have the independent court. But what I want to tell you is that the current situation, the fact that we have a desk camera, and in George Floyd case, someone actually recorded it, right? And the police still did the brutality of their act, means like even the police, they themselves, they don't actually care about how they act will be seen by the others. So it simply shows you how racism cannot easily be erased. It facts like even if we create a independent court, if we want to create like a desk, like a body camera, it still means like they will still find another way to do racism, right? And if we create an independent court, then we will know what will actually happening in the court. For example, we never know if there would be a negotiation, there would be a corruption, and therefore we will only waste our money. And therefore it would be much better for us if we create a society where police can do their job greatly, and they focus more on their job. They would have more integrity. And therefore we've proven to you why we on our side of the house, we told you why it would be more beneficial if we defund the police, and why the proposal coming from the government side of the house are actually not effective and problematic at all. And therefore we are proud to oppose.